I'm Linda. Welcome back. I just finished up a really cool fall scene. It's from a photograph that I had taken a couple years ago. It's a road to Devil's Lake, Baraboo, Wisconsin, but I'm calling it the road to Spirit Lake. It has some beautiful fall colored leaves and beautiful foreground. The road is awesome with some highlight there. You're gonna love doing this one. So hope you can follow me, pause and paint. So let's get started. So here is a list of the oil paints that I use. I'm going right onto my canvas with liquid white, and I'm going to put it all over. Nice thin coat, as thin as you can get it. But then I'm still going to go on afterwards and wipe all the excess off with a shop towel. I'm going into a little bit of violet with a touch of blue, a phthalo blue, and I'm doing little X strokes all the way across and down to the bottom. I'm going to add a little phthalo in that, just working it in. Just spreading it in. About probably 3 inches from the bottom, 3.5, 4 inches to bottom. I'm going to create a line there with some violet. That's where my path road is going to be. So I'm into violet. I'm going to make a little S shape of an S, and blend that in. It's not real wide, but it's going to be a little, there you see it. And then I'm adding some phthalo blue on the left side there, just blending it in. A little darker on the bottom. So I'm going right into some cad yellow and a touch of orange on the top with a 1 inch. Just dabbing the top, and then I got a 1 inch clean there, and I went into some sap green with a touch of yellow. And I'm just going to do some foliage. I did a little tree on the right, but it's just background. All it is background, so you don't have to be really super fussy. So I'm going into a little cad yellow there, and there's so many colors, and I'm just dotting. I'm dotting in different layers of color over that green, and just doesn't, there's no pattern. So just dot it in. It's a forest, and so it doesn't matter. So I'm going into a dark sap green with a touch of brown, and I'm going to do a little bit on the side of that tree there, and below it's just background, so you don't have to worry about being precise. It's just all it is background, because all that is going to be covered up anyway with lots of leaf colors. So just keep going, and about 4 inches from the bottom up, you want to stop there, because that's where your road is going to be. But in the meantime, I'm just filling in little touches of Van Dyke brown in there with my sap green, a little bit of yellow. It's just lots of variation of colors in this one. I mean, it's fall, and so no one section is going to be the same. It's a lot of dotting, a lot of just tapping, tap 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 with that 1 inch where it's really good. And back into the cad yellow. I'm gonna put a bunch of trees in there, lots of color, different shapes. And same now, be careful, leave some of that violet sky show. So leave some open areas there. But I'm just dotting on the top. Now there I'm going a little bit lighter. I added a little white to my yellow, a little more contrast. Okay, so now I'm going into black. I've got a really nice liner brush, and it's kind of inky. You know, I put a little thinner with that, odorless thinner, and it should flow really nice, very nice. You just put your brush down and gently just lift up, and you should have a nice point there. So I'm just shaping, adding some branches coming out from the side and the front there. When I move forward, I'm going to do it. They're going to be a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger. So the ones in the back are going to be really, really thin, really fine lines. And there's going to be a lot of them because there's so much going on in this forest. And so we want a lot of little tree trunks. And they don't have to be perfect. Just wiggle them in there. Get them in first, and then we'll start putting in the arms. Now you might have to pause here. I kind of jumped ahead, and you see where I put the big trees in front on the right, a little bigger on the left, and kind of put around the path there, the road is a little bit of Van Dyke brown and white, but just kind of shape that road. In the meantime, I'm putting some sap green with a touch of yellow. Now going into a more of an Indian yellow, going over the top of those greens, but I'm not covering up totally. I'm leaving some green come through. There's going to be so much color going on here. In the meantime, yes, I'm putting some Indian yellow here and there in between those trees. Later I'll be defining those the trees better. I'll be putting black over that. So you don't have to be real fussy here. Just put in some color. That beautiful Indian yellow with a touch of orange really is pretty. And just tap and just let your brush do the work. And a little darker in areas. Shaping, kind of following your branches where the leaves will be. And just tapping. Filling in the little bit of orange there. Now I'm going into, it's a red ochre, touch of orange, a touch of Van Dyke brown. It's a light color. It's kind of it's an like an ochre, but it's faded. It's got more brown in it. So I'm just tapping in there, and there you see the color. I've got little Indian yellow mixed with that Van Dyke brown. I'm just tapping in some leaves. Just wherever your branches you think might be, just tap some leaves on there. I'm going into a little bit of the red ochre with a touch of yellow, and just making it orange, and just giving it some extra color here and there. Darker leaves, straight red ochre on some. So now I'm going into yellow, cad yellow, a little bit of white, and brightening up some of those leaves. I'm going over the top of some of those green ones. I'm really kind of highlighting those. And if your paint is thin enough, it should stick. And I am using a Donna Dewberry, a one stroke. It's called a scruffy brush. I love it. I've been using it for 15 years. I looked online and they still sell that brush. So, and it's like $5 or less. But it's the nicest little brush to make some cool leaves. I think it's a must-have. I love this brush, and I do use my sponges with it too. But this is just really it works wonders. You need to get a scruffy. So I'm going in still with the bright yellow and adding a little more white and just highlighting some of those leaves, shaping the branches a little bit. Like I said, it's a real busy forest. The photograph I took, I'm trying to follow it, but you know what? You can do your own little thing with the leaves and that. I've got a little liner brush, and I'm going into some Van Dyke brown with a touch of black. Actually, more black than brown, but I'm going to shape over the top of all these leaves. Now I'm going to put some arms, some branches that are going to be that'll really show up now. And I'm just forming some branches, and that black has to be a little bit inky consistency, and that's when you use a little more odorless thinner in your paint, and just roll that brush in there, and it should just flow really nice. Okay, so I am doing a little spongy going on here, one of my favorite ones, and it works pretty cool. It's a little bigger leaves than the scruffy, but I just dipped in a little thinner and then in my paint and just gently just tap it in, and things happen. It looks really natural, it looks really cool. I love how the sponges work too. Excuse me. So I'm just tapping away, filling in, getting some light dark effects. And even at the bottom there, I put a little bush down there that's got some yellow leaves on it, still filling in between, and making this one on the right there like a really cool cluster of leaves coming out to the front. Okay, now I'm using, it's a number 14, it's a Dugat, Dugat. I've got a bunch of these, and I love this size. It's a number 14. I'm just tapping it in red ochre, and I'm just gonna see how that works. I'm just tapping real gently, and I'm gonna make the forest floor full of leaves, and that's gonna be the base. I want the bottom of the floor this color. Then when you add your next colors on top, it'll really it'll look really cool. So I'm using the corner and the side. I'm going to the other side, just gently pushing upward, tapping in that color, and just kind of pushing upward. I'm going to stay with the lay of the land there. It is a little bit of a knoll. It kind of goes up, and then I've got some jutting out onto the road. Now I'm going in with a new brush. I think it's like a size 5, 4. And I'm putting in some little oranges. But now to get some of the really tight spots, I'm using my sponge. I've got a real small sponge there, and that works if you're in real tight areas. So I've got a clean one and another really neat spongy, a little bigger holes, a little bit. Well, this one I'm using for streaks too. The sunlight is coming through, and I want to make sure it's on the roadway. So anyway, I'm tapping that sponge in, and you see they're a little bigger than the size 14 fan brush. And the leaves are, here and there. I'm going to go on the upper side and just kind of tap some in. You don't have to put a lot, but just a few, and you can go on the road too if you want. So now I did tap in a little bit of a stream. It's like a light beam crossing that road, and I'm just on white. I'm using white with a tiny little filbert, and I'm just putting in some streaks of light in there, angling it over, and then taking a dry brush, I'm going to go over the top a little bit of those and soften them up, and put a little more of that bright yellow white in there with that little brush. I know it's thick, so I decided I'm going to use my palette knife to do these streaks, and boy oh boy did that ever work slick. A little bit of cad yellow on that makes for some really, and then white in the center, keeping your lines really nice and straight. Gives it a really cool light effect coming through the trees. Okay, I'm back with my old scruffy there, and I decided I want to put a few darker areas there in the trees, because it was a little too bright. And going to the bottom, at the base of those trees, I'm going to put in a little foliage, just tapping some in here and there, and behind you can tap upward like there's brush in there. Now I'm taking just the side of that brush. I'm just tapping, and see how cool that looks? It's like I've got bushes back there. So now I'm going into my blue violet, and that's a violet with phthalo, and I'm going to touch up these light rays that are coming. I just want to get them really fine. I went over them with some white, and now I am putting some highlight on the trees. I've got a kind of a long filbert, and I've got a light gray. You could put yellow, but I did black and white, very, light gray, and I'm just doing the outsides of those trees, just a little bit. You don't have to be too fussy. And then on the other side, of course, the left side of the trees, because the light is coming through that side. And do wherever you think the light is going to hit. I almost see a finished painting here. I really enjoyed this one, and I hope you do too. So until next time, happy painting, and God bless.